So, Steamboat Willie is now public domain. It is public domain. What do we think of that first and foremost, it being public domain? I am surprised from my side of things. I'm very surprised that Disney did not try and fight it because they are the reason the copyright laws are as extensive as they are. They lobbied hard to get them as they are. So I'm very surprised.
They twice in their past have added 20 years to copyright protection. Twice they've done the same thing. And I look at it, and as Tom will probably talk about it, and other people do, the amount of time that something is held privately should be limited. There should be license available for artistic recreation of these things, and there always had been up until Disney's lobbying for extension. I think Disney recognized. Wow, that's really cool. I think Disney recognized that. I guess that's a membership thing.
It is. We'll get to it.
It's so distracting. But
I know.
I guess Disney recognized that there was no political will or support here in the Congress or anywhere in this country for them any longer. They've really soured the American public and political establishment on them over the course of the last, let's say, decade. So I'm not surprised. They knew that would be a losing measure.
True. I think they're aware now that and this is a symptom of Disney as a whole, right? So Disney has gone further and further away from what their core was, right? Yeah. And they've just gone and bought up loads of other franchises instead. Their core was family-friendly fun, Mickey Mouse, and it was the Magic Kingdom. That's actually not the core of what Disney's about nowadays. And the face of Disney is actually no longer really Mickey Mouse, right? I think that's the way I view it. And so they don't actually necessarily think that Steamboat Willie is as lucrative or as necessarily an important element to their business structure as previously. That's the way I view it. But Tom, thoughts on the whole Steamboat Willie situation?
This is going to get messy. Because Steamboat Willie itself, and I believe 2 other Mickey Mouse cartoons that were... See, that's the thing. A lot of people think this is the first Mickey Mouse cartoon. It's not. It's the first one with sound. So Mickey has technically already been in the public domain for a while, but it's just that early version and basically constrained to certain factors. And I think a lot of people are going to be confused by that going forward. In fact, not too long after the new year, we got that trailer for the new Mickey Mouse Trap. Disney's going to sue those mofos. There is nothing in that I can see right off the bat. They'll win. They'll probably get away with it, but it's going to get messy because the difference here is that Disney still owns the trademark on Mickey Mouse, and it's going to take a case or two to go to court before this gets sorted out, because we're entering new territory, because Disney is now going to end up having done to them what they've been doing to literary works for literally the last 100 years, and that is other people being able to reinterpret that literary work. But here's the difference. This is one of the first times we're coming to a point where it's a character that was created on film and not in book form or in some other form first. Because like Winnie the Pooh has been public domain, I believe, now for like 2-3 years. But again, you have to keep it constricted to the book version, because if you even encroach Disney's versions of those characters, they will come down on you hard. So I can see that's going to happen here. Now, the closest thing we have for precedent set for this so far is the Friday the 13th case from a few years ago. Oh, and this could hurt or help Disney. And the reason I say that is because it could go either way when this finally does go to court, because it will go to court eventually, because Disney has already put a statement out there that they do plan on protecting Mickey Mouse and their image, right? Like, yes, Steamboat Willie may be public domain and along with a handful of other cartoons, but that doesn't mean that they don't own variations on that character and so on and so forth, at least in their eyes. And the way copyright works is if you don't protect your copyright, it goes away, right? Because the more you allow others to get away with, the more and more it muddies that water. And where we're at right now, I think Disney's going to get pretty litigious right out the gate, because most of these people are not going to have the money to be able to fight Disney, right? That's the thing that they're going to hope for. And the thing going back to the Friday the 13th case, what drugged that out for so long was that was a little bit different. It's not apples to apples, so don't quote me there. But what we have here is a situation with the Friday the 13th case where there was a 1976 ruling made that a sole creator could go back and reclaim his works after 35 years. Yep. So Victor Miller, the writer of Friday the 13th, went to try and get his rights for Friday the 13th back. And he was fought by Sean S. Cunningham, the producer, who claimed that, it was work for hire, which would be one of those stipulations that does not constitute that. But Victor Miller says, oh no, the only part that was kind of work for hire was you gave me the title. I made up the rest. So his argument was that the rest was his work. At the end of the day, he won. The only thing he didn't get was the title. But then it came under argument whether or not Jason, in which form did he own? Yeah. And the court case ended with the court ruling that it didn't matter what form it was in after that.
Everything.
It was a derivative version of the original version. So hence he owns them going forward. He owns Jason and Crystal Lake and Mrs. Voorhees and all those characters. Right. So all that was kind of taken care of. So I think that might set a precedent here. And why I say it could go for Disney, it could go against Disney. It could go against Disney, where if somebody were to win a case against Disney, that would set a precedent that, nope, just because they're derivative versions doesn't mean that they're any different than the original version of Mickey that was in the original cartoons, which are now in the public domain, and the character's that old, hence he's in the public domain, which was also a case for Sherlock Holmes a few years back too, which is there was a bunch of big arguments over. So here we go again. And I think that could be the case. Or it could go the other way for Disney, where they could say, well, nope, it's still a derivative character. And since they own all these other versions and they still own the trademark, that means, yes, the cartoon is in public domain, but the character is still protected by Disney. So it could go both ways. And until we get a case or two to actually see where it's going to go, I think that's kind of where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same situation that happened with Clive Barker getting Hellraiser back.
Right.
And also Child's Play. Remember, we had that spin-off. Well, not spin-off. It was a remake.
Yes, but that was why that was that was limited to what they could do in that remake because of the original screenplay that it was based upon. They couldn't use any of the elements that Tom Holland had brought to the table for the actual film.
Yeah, exactly. And now, flash forward, we got this thing, which is truly bloody terrible. It's not good. And
it's like the blood and honey thing all over again, but I think it's going to get more complicated. Yeah.
I think the way they believe they're getting around it is literally with this. Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse in Steamboat Willie. This is how I think they think they're going to get around it. It's just showing clips of this in the trailer to be like, oh, well, it's definitely Steamboat Willie version. Which there's nothing really to say that it is. Like when you look at how they've.
Well, I think the whole thing is he comes out of the movie or something like that. Like, again, I think they'll get away with it at the end of the day because that Grinch movie the mean one managed to find a way around the copyright. And some of this stuff could probably fall under parody anyway, which is something I've already warned. Like, they probably get more in trouble for having that Angry Birds thing in the background there than anything. But anyway, like, I don't know. It's there's something to that effect, I guess. I don't know. Or this mask is supposed to be from that or whatever. Like, they may get clever, they may get around it, but it doesn't mean Disney is not going to get litigious, and that doesn't mean that a lot of these people are not going to be able to afford to fight Disney, right? Because none of the corporations are going to get dumb enough to even try this. So this is all going to be indie people, and most people, as long as you understand copyright law and the way it works, you'll probably be okay. But the main thing is not to try and obfuscate that it's coming from Disney. That's the main thing, right? Because if you try to imply that this is Disney in any way, shape, or form, they will definitely come after you. And as far as the Mickey Mouse character itself, that's the muddy area yet.
Yeah. Well, this is why I'm surprised that
They'll have to change the
Disney are not
title, I bet.
suing them. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because it's
Oh,
Mickey's.
they will, I bet.
Yeah. That's the part which I'm a bit surprised.
I don't.
About. I mean, yeah. Sorry.
I have an entirely different view.
Go on then. Be contrarian.
I think that this is the case law that Tom and I were talking about. Tom and I have talked about this a couple of times, and I think even behind the scenes we've talked about it. I think that the case law is about to be leveled in a way that will allow for more creative freedom for people to use things like this. I think that's kind of the next step in justice. So the minute that happens here in the States and these things get more widely relaxed, I think not only will Disney be in a position where they will, I believe, and I could be wrong, and again, this is a belief, right? But I believe they will lose Mickey Mouse in his entirety, because I believe that any recent iteration of Mickey Mouse is just an extension of the original character. And I think all of these workarounds...
It could go that way with the whole precedent set by the Jason case. Like I said, it could go either way. Depends on who they side with in that.
Yeah, I think it's going to go that direction, Tom. And the reason I do is because this case law will establish what would be the fairness that they are aiming for, that people have been denied for a long period of time. So I again would imagine that while you are apparently able to enjoy 95 years of copyright protection, once that 95 years has expired, welcome to the jungle. And I think it'll be every iteration of Mickey. I'm sorry, I don't think it's just going to be limited to Mickey Mouse, because it is just Mickey Mouse. He just happens to be in Steamboat Willie. He also just happens to be in Plane Crazy. He also just happens
the
to
only
be
thing
in these other things.
I mean, has anybody see? Here's the thing: there's been a bunch of Looney Tunes cartoons and some other stuff that has been in the public domain for a while too, but nobody has gone out of their way to try anything yet with any of the Looney Tunes like Bosco or Mickey, or not Mickey, Daffy or Porky, which were some of the earlier ones, which I believe are technically in the public domain. I'd have to look and double check. But again, Warner Brothers is another one where they'd come after you if you tried to mess with that stuff. So, because they own different versions of those characters. So I wonder if there's a case set for that. And I know the Superman case is going to be coming to a close here eventually too. So because he'll be public domain, and Batman will all be public domain by like 2033 or something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but again, it's only the earlier iterations as far as I'm understanding. So this is another reason why I bring it up, is because this is why DC over the years has constantly changed the looks of their characters. Just by small variations. Right, whether it's the logo, like the Superman logo, for instance, like when Superman does come into the public domain, you won't be able to use that, shield that we were used to for 60 years. You're going to have to use that early version for a while until that version becomes in the public domain, is my understanding. So again, that might be, I'm not trying to be contrarian against what you're saying, Culture. I hope that Disney loses in this. I'm not trying to be all like pro Disney or stick up for them. I'm just trying to go by precedents that have already been set. And we're entering brand new territory with this, because this is the first time we've ever had a character that did not start as a literary character of some sort, right? Whether it's a comic book or a book. So you have the initial original version coming to you on a film, and we're just starting to get more popular films in the public domain. Like we have, I think, 2 of the Marx Brothers in the public domain now, Animal Crackers, and I think the other one, Coconuts or whatever. Some of the Charlie Chaplin, a few of the other ones now. So, I mean, again, but Andre, we tried loading these up to see if they would get dinged, and they got dinged. In fact, they got blocked in some countries. So that's another thing, is copyright law is different in every country.
That is part of it as well.
This is going to get complicated.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be funny to kind of watch and see how this plays out. But hopefully that answered your question. And a good one leading off onto our first topic there. Tom Workin, my dude.